Millions of widows across the world battle four critical issues. Those are poverty, violence, health and conflict-related situations. According to the United Nations, despite the fact that there are over 258 million widows around the world, widows have historically been left unseen, unsupported and unmeasured in most societies of the world. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has been particularly devastating for many women who have lost their partners, who in some cases are the sole breadwinners and are struggling to take care of children and even elderly parents. Often left without savings or any other income support, widows, like many others in the world, have been especially exposed to the sudden loss of employment during the pandemic, creating immediate and acute financial vulnerability with serious consequences that range from food insecurity to increased susceptibility to molestation. Now, today in Nigeria, widows are still being humiliated, dehumanized and abused via repressive customs, rights and rituals. I know you know what I'm talking about. This is despite various awareness campaigns by different non-government organizations, NGOs, to put an end to harmful traditional practices against women, especially widows. According to experts, the social and economic issues faced by widows must be brought to the front burner to make their voices heard. Now, that is what we want to do tonight on the program. Welcome to Nigeria Today, as we focus on the plight of the Nigerian widow. I am Musbat, and we'll have this is NTA News 24. Now, joining me to talk about the plight of the Nigerian widow, I have two women who have been doing great job with widow and on them as well. One of them is President Helpline Foundation, Dr. Jumai Amadu. Good to have you on the program, madam.
Thank you very much, Musbao.
And also in the studio with us is Honorable Esther Mitosahi, initiator and coordinator of El Shaddai Widows. Thanks for having you, madam.
Thank you.
You were just telling me about the meaning of your name, I think, like that. And by the way, today, World Purple Day. You're having touches of purple in your dresses. Did you plan this?
You did not plan. It was a coincidence.
All right, good to have you. Now, we have a serious matter on the table. I believe that, but some might be asking why this special focus on widows. I need your wealth of experience to convince them. How enormous or serious are the challenges facing widows in Nigeria? Let me start with Dr. Amadu.
Thank you very much, Musbao. The challenges faced by widows is what we have come to live with, the reality that has been here with us over the years. And the most amazing thing is that every year we talk about their plight. Every year we'll see this reality staring us in the face, and nothing definite has been done. And no team could have been better than the team the United Nations set aside to enable us create more awareness on the plight of widows, than which they said is invisible women, invisible problems. Because every year we see them suffering, we see them losing their husbands, we see them losing everything that they have worked for over the years. It has no age limit. You see a girl of less than 25 becoming a widow, they'll still send her out of her matrimonial home. You see a woman of over 60 years becoming a widow. It doesn't matter how long she has stayed with her husband, the family members, whom surprisingly and strangely that normally carry out this act against them are women also, because you hardly find a man in the family going after the woman that just lost her husband. So their plights are enormous, and which was why United Nations 11 years ago officially declared a day, which is today, to create more awareness about what they are going through. Like you said in the news segment, you see them going out of their comfort zone in most of the time. They go out of their comfort zone most of the time. Nobody is there to really see what they can do to enable them get back their lives together. So their problems are enormous. The society needs to come up with deliberate action to see how these women can be protected. Yes, we have the VAP Act that was brought signed in 2015, but that is not enough because there's nothing deliberate about how these people who are always going after these widows can be stopped. There is no any law that we can hold to enable us hold them to account to say that whatever it is that they are doing against these widows who, out of no fault of theirs, found themselves in their current situation, needs to be protected. So deliberate action needs to be taken, which is why this year's team, like I said earlier, is very timely. You will see them every day, but their problem is not what the policymakers have come out to say. We need to take deliberate steps to protect these vulnerable people in our midst.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Amadu. Now, Honorable Mitosai, before you share your experience about what you feel being the challenges facing widows in Nigeria, how much of this awareness that United Nations want us to create have we been able to do in this country while you share your experience as well?
Thank you so very much. Every year I come to the NTA to share my experience as a widow, and we have tried to share awareness everywhere that we could. And there are so many organizations in this country that deal with issues concerning widows. However, nothing concrete, just like Dr. Jumai said, has been established to help them. However, before I share my experience, when I was invited today, I came to challenge the children of the widows, relations of the widows. Before we say the outsiders should help, what are the children doing? Because I found out that in my awareness creation, a lot of children that are widows' children don't even bother. They leave their mothers in the villages, come into the cities enjoying everything. I challenge every child whose mother is a widow today, what have you done to make sure that your mother is comfortable? She made sure she suffered, you know it. She suffered to get you to where you are today. But after marriage, you turn your back on her and you leave her in the village. I have a lot of experiences, and that is why I am challenging every child that has a mother as a widow, wherever you are, whomever you are. It is important to turn back. What society are we talking about to help the widows? Well, yes, the society, some people, you find out, deliberately go out of their way to help the widows, to help our organizations, so that we will help the widows. However, you, the child of a widow, what have you done for your mother? I want from today for every child to be challenged. For my experience, I'm in my 26th year as a widow. And when my husband died, I had the challenge of taking over most of the children that were together with his other siblings because they had died. So every time a brother died, the children are moved to my house. The sister dies, the children are moved to my house. And after everything said and done, when my husband was buried, and my own cousins too, and my own siblings too, I found that I had 25 children to take care of. And I didn't know how it was going to be. And I kept on crying and calling on God. And you find out that when something happens to you like that, most people that normally used to come to your house, you don't see anybody anymore. You don't see his friends anymore. And they have their own excuses to give. However, we looked on to God, and God helped us. But I want to assure you that even in this program, we cannot be able to, share the experiences, because they are horrible, they are terrible. Sometimes, you go into your room and you are just crying, you don't know what to do, but somehow God takes you through. And I want to tell you that the challenge of widowhood is that it is even the women. After their brothers die, you find out that it is the woman who is a potential widow any day. that the sisters of the brothers, the relations that come to maltreat the widow. But I am very grateful because I had a very cordial relationship with my own husband's people. And I found, you know, nobody molested me, nobody did anything, but they were not having the capacity to help because, of course, they were depending on my husband's help. So you understand what it meant to me. It was a heavy, heavy, huge burden. So I challenge the women, when anybody dies around you, be careful. You may be the next that will suffer that kind of consequences. I'm challenging the children of widows. I'm challenging women today. Why is it that when your brother dies or anybody or uncle dies, it is you that goes around to molest that widow, and you are a potential widow?
Right,
So,
thank you, Honorable
thank you.
Mutusai. Thank you very much. You're
Yes.
speaking from the side of experience, and I can only feel some of the pains you've gone through for 26 years now after the demise of your husband. Now, Dr. Jumai Amadu, Madam Mutusai just spoke, recounting experience of 26 years. And now, talking about the relatives of the husband or siblings who are still alive. Now, is there any role that the husband can play even while still living to avoid this kind of situation when the call of nature finally comes?
There are roles that husbands are playing, which they have been playing. Like we had a discussion this afternoon with somebody who said that maybe if government should enforce marriage and court marriage, it will compel the man to automatically bequeath his property to his wife upon his demise. But I told him that that is not possible because we don't have one system or one culture in Nigeria. Some culture will, even though the marriage registry, the court marriage is what is recognized in our constitution. But how many people will be able to create that awareness or go to villages where we see these women suffering and they will have this structure in place to protect the woman when her husband died? That is not possible. So only thing that we can do, like Honorable Mutusai said, is for us to keep creating awareness and keep pressing on government to come out with law that will protect these women. The husband may leave a will. There's a case we're handling now. The husband left a will, but the family of the husband said they are not going to abide by that will. They gave the woman some terms to follow before they can even open the will to read. So in such situation, what can she do? The entire family are against her, that they are not going to respect the will that her husband left. She does not have the means to even challenge this thing in court. Except such cases are brought to the front burner. Like now, some organizations have taken it upon themselves to see how they can enforce the reading of that will so that she can get what her husband bequeathed for she and her husband. So the husband has a role, which is writing a will before he dies. But upon his demise, how many women will have the capacity to see to the enforcement of this will that their husbands have left behind? So it's only government and policymakers that have significant role to play to ensure that the rights of widows are protected against all these cultures that they normally face upon the demise of their husbands. And the society also have to be there for them. She's rightly said, most of us are guilty of it. Upon the demise of their husbands, we all go to them, commiserate with them, promise them so many things. We are going to be there for them and their children, but few days or weeks after, she'll be left alone. She'll be left alone not only to mourn her husband, but harassment from his family also, who are accusing her of killing this man, which is what women mostly are faced. When your husband died, they will not think about whatever it is that have killed your husband. They say there's something this woman may have done that led to the demise of their brothers. Nobody cares about the emotional trauma that they are going through, the problems that they are going to face in terms of taking care of their children, education-wise, and even just meeting their basic needs. We had a program today, and 70% of the women that came for this program said they had similar problems from their families, and most of them are vulnerable. Government is not talking for them, which is why this year's team, like I said, couldn't have been better than what United Nations set it to be. Invisible women, invisible problem. We see them every day on the streets, but nobody cares about what they are going through.
Right, invisible women, invisible problems. It's a very topical one indeed. Now, thank you very much, Dr. Amadu. Let's quickly take a break. We still have some issues to address on this program tonight, Nigeria Today, in just a moment. Thanks a lot for sticking around. It's still Nigeria Today on NTA News 24, and we have been having conversation around the solution to the plight of a Nigerian widow. I have in the studio Dr. Jumai Amadu and Honorable Esther Mitosahi in the studio with me talking about this. Now, let me quickly come to you, Honorable Mitosahi. The popular religions we have in the country, talking about Christianity and Islam, both talked about being kind to the women, particularly the plight of widow. But this is not really what we have at hand in most cases, particularly at the grassroots. What do you think has been the situation? Why did we lose this value?
Thank you very much. From what you asked the other time with Dr. Jumai, it starts from the grassroots.
Right.
It starts from the marriage. When you are married, both a man and the woman, how do you live? I remember that when we were marrying, my parents would tell us, you are not only marrying the man alone, you are marrying the family.
The family as well.
As well. So when you go in as a wife and you don't even want to see anybody, as though your husband came from a tree or a stone, and then every other person who contributed to make him what he is, you don't want anybody to come near. Of course, when it happens like that, that is the result sometimes. But most of the time it is not so. Even if you were cordial with the relations, you find out that it still happens like that. A Muslim woman, you know, I deal with both religions, came to me. They collected all her 4 children after the husband's death to show her paper according to the relations. She ran to me and I asked her, how was, you know, your relationship with your in-laws before your husband's demise? That they didn't used to allow the widows, the husband's people to come to their house. I said, you see, they want to show you paper now. I had to ask her to go and apologize and plead, and we have to apologize to the relations. And I showed her how she should have lived with her husband. But look at the outcome now. And at the end, God helped us, and we settled it, and they gave her back her children, and they were now ready to support her. How it happened that my own experience is that I never had any issues with my in-laws. It's because my sister-in-law died before my husband, just like I told you that my husband's siblings died and every other relation was brought to my house. And the sister-in-law died. After her death, her in-laws took away her car. In fact, she helped to build her house. They maltreated my sister-in-law so much, so terribly, that it was horror. Then my husband one day said we should go to the village. It was not Christmas, it was not Easter. We should go to the village. I said, for what? He said, let us just go. And then he went and told his people that what he saw happened to his sister, he doesn't want it to happen to his wife. Because everything he has is for his wife and children. And anybody who dares take anything from his properties without the permission of his wife, without the permission of his children, that person will die and follow him. And then they will come to, you know. There is a way, you know, family systems have been eroded because of, you know, cultures coming in from other places.
Oh, obviously, from what you've said, some women actually causing these problems for themselves
Yes.
by way of their
Relationship.
relationship with their, the parents of their husband. They
Yes.
should also marry the relatives as well, the family members of the husband. Now, Dr. Amadu, you suggested legislation earlier. How much of this control can legislation or legislative measures do to prevent this, the plight that widows are facing?
You know, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015, like I said earlier, already
Yes.
captured the protection of widows. But what I'm saying is that there's nothing definite that single the widow out of that act to say if a man should die and any relation of his come to dispossess this woman of her property, the person should be punished with XYZ amount of either jail term or something should be done. That is what we are talking about, and that is what most NGOs are trying to see if they can bring to the front burner for specific pronouncement to be made to protect widows. And also in Nigeria and some other African countries, we don't have accurate data on the number of widows. Like in 2018, we had about 3-point-something million widows in Nigeria, which is not adequate. We have much more number. If we don't even put structures in place by the relevant agencies of government to know the population of widows, it will be also difficult to come out with policies that will protect them. But by and large, it's better for more advocacies to be carried out in these areas where it is very, very obvious that widows normally suffer. Like you talked about the two religions. In Islam, for example, I don't have in-depth knowledge, but I know that if a man should die, there are specific processes,
Guidelines.
yes, that needs to be carried out for inheritance to be given to and to be shared. But in Christianity, it is not spelled out. In some culture, they will say the first male child takes everything. Where the woman does not have a male child, the uncle of the girls will just dispossess them and they will allow this woman to go. In some cases, you watch your father's property being squandered by your uncle and you have no say. The woman will just be watching. And in some extreme cases, they'll give the woman the option of either marrying her brother-in-law to remain in the family or she should go. Also, we've been hearing so many of such cases, and these women, first of all, they don't even have the purchasing power, they don't have any skill. They were at the mercy of their husband before his demise, which will take me to our own core advocacy in my foundation that every woman, no matter how rich your husband is, try as much as possible to have a skill if you're not working. Because if this happens, most cases we are not prepared. Nobody prays to become a widow, but it's what we normally face. Have something that you can fall back to so that when you are dispossessed, you have something to at least give your children food to eat, and with the help of people or what you've been able to do, you'll be able to see them through school. Because you see most girls hawking on the street today is because an uncle or an aunt have chased them away from their father's sweat and what in most cases their mother also struggle with this man to put together.
Trust me, Dr. Amadu, I think that has been very proactive, ensuring that they are even empowered in the first instance, even before the husband will depart. Of course, we wish them to stay very long with us. Now, Honorable Mitosai, apart from the enlightenment and legislation that Dr. Amadu mentioned, what role can we also have the religious organizations play in this? Because we're talking about enlightenment and many people will not even be afraid of legislation, but if we hear this hammered into the consciousness of people, how do you think it can be played by the religious organizations?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I
need you to do that in 30 seconds.
Yeah, just like Dr. Jumai said, it's spelled out and it is followed in Islam. It is spelled out in Numbers chapter 27.
All right.
Numbers chapter 27 tells every Christian how inheritances cases should be dealt with. But I've never heard anybody preach about it. And so I've been to so many churches. I had to do a research myself to understand the Christian perspective of widowhood inheritance. Numbers 27, everybody today that is listening to us should go and read it. And we have done that a lot to create awareness for people to help widows. We have told people, you know, it is spelled out in that Numbers 27. Anybody can read that Bible and see that it is spelled out like that.
Thank you very much. I can see Dr. Amadu already have penned down that verse
Yes,
of the
please.
Bible to
Please.
research on. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. We wish all the widows in the country a good time. Why? They are still part of us, and we wish them well. And on that note, I want to say a very big thank you to Dr. Jumai Amadu, President, Helpline Foundation. She has been doing great work with the widows and even those still having their husbands. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Esther Mitosai, initiator and coordinator El Shaddai Widows. She has been able to enlighten us, giving us the verse from the Holy Bible. Go and read about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And that has been Nigeria Today on NTA News 24 tonight. Thanks a lot for your time. Join us again tomorrow, same time, 7:30 in the evening.